These are the things that I wish I knew before playing Limbus Company. If you're new to Limbus and you're coming specifically from the Arknight community, welcome. We're going to be answering all the questions that you have, whether or not I should reroll, should I be saving up my in-game currency to be pulling for these lovely, lovely egos. Basically everything and any question that you have, I'll be answering in this video and giving you the basic guide. However, you're probably wondering what's the best thing to be able to do to progress my account. The best thing that you can do to progress your account is to actually make friends in our Discord. Let me explain why. In our Discord, links in the description down below, we have a specific channel. I think we're the biggest Limbus Discord group. We have 3,000 people. In there, we have something called the friend codes. What you want to do is you want to be able to make friends with people because you'll be able to borrow units. These units are all maxed out. They'll be able to help you progress through certain roadblocks in the game, and I've made it so that specifically with the units I have here, all the units here will be able to help you push through certain roadblocks in the game. I'll also be putting my friend code in my Discord community, so make sure you join that. By adding a friend, you'll be able to borrow one of their units, and that unit is going to be a level 55 maxed out unit, okay? So it's going to be able to give you a big head start to your journey. So make sure you join the Discord community. Links in the description down below. We have a channel where you can add us as friend codes, and I'll make sure to check it daily so that way I can add you guys as friends as well as all the other people in the community. Now, the biggest question you're going to have is whether or not I'm going to need to re-roll for my account. In this game, I need to explain two things. There are units, if you're familiar with Hoyle games like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail, these are more your units, okay? E.G.O, which is the only thing that you'll be really able to pull in the collaboration banner. Think of those more like your artifacts, your weapons, your Star Rail books, I guess you could say. These are more accessories. They help synergize with your character, but they're not needed for your characters, okay? And now the biggest thing is, what character should I be pulling for, and what ego should I be pulling for, and how do I as a beginner get the best start to my account? What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna switch over to my beginner's account and show you guys exactly how a beginner will progress. So this is the brand new account that I've been working on. It's free to play. I haven't spent any money on this. Couple of things to take note of. Remember how I said it's important to have friends? Make sure you do that. Join the Discord community, links in the description down below. As you can see, I am borrowing my friend's unit. They have level 55 juiced out units. You can test out units to see what you kind of like and if you want to play them. So that way you don't have to like actually, buy a unit, get it, and if you don't like it, it sucks, right? There are friend units that have a bunch of different characters. You can use them, play with them, try with them to see if you kind of like it before you think about getting a character. Second thing, how do you get characters? How do you get ego? Now, one way is obviously just through the standard 10 pulls. By doing the banner pulls, you have a chance to get egos and identities. Egos are, think of it like equipment and skills. They help with utility, but they're not required. IDs are the more important things because the character determines how your characters are going to play. So how do you get characters outside of just going through the 10 pulls in the gacha system? You can spark them. You can use ego shards, which are like these things right here. If you get 400 ego shards of Faust, you can instantly get that character. So how do you get these characters free to play? So one is by farming lunacy and doing pen pulls. So if you go over to Drive and Mirror Dungeon, every time you finish a Mirror Dungeon, you get about 250 per node. So if you finish all three at once, you get about 750 lunacy, which is half a 10 pull in 1 week. So in 2 weeks, you get a 10 pull. Not bad, right? The next thing that you can do is you can farm your battle pass. Now the battle pass in Limbus is very, very good. The reason why the battle pass in Limbus is very, very good is because this battle pass is not like any other game. It's not a monthly battle pass. This battle pass lasts a whole season, and the whole season typically lasts 3 to 4 to 5 months, so you get a lot of value to it. What happens is once you get to the very end, you want to start farming Mirror Dungeons. If you are a free-to-play player, I will say it's not a viable strat for you to farm for ego shards to get characters because you only get one box on level up completion. However, if you buy the battle pass, super worth it. One of the few games I will say it's the best $10 to $20 you will ever spend in a gacha game. You get so much value out of it. 100% would tell you to get it if you can. The reason why is if you get it, instead of getting one box, you get 2 boxes. These boxes can be converted into shards, and each box gives you a chance of getting 1 to 3 shards. So that means on average, if you farm up 200 boxes, you'll be able to get 1 character free of cost. Now, mirror dungeons, how much mirror dungeons do you need to farm and how long does it take? A mirror dungeon typically takes about 30 minutes to an hour. Leans closer to 45, depends on how fast you can get through it. However, when you do finish a mirror dungeon, you get a ton of EXP for your pass. I think you get 9 boxes, I want to say, in total when you do the EXP dungeon. So if you get 9 boxes, roughly ballpark, I believe you would just have to do 3 boxes. 3 boxes gives you 6. So yeah, 3 boxes would roughly give you 6 shards. So that means you have to farm Mirror Dungeon. I believe it was 14 times. I believe you have to farm Mirror Dungeon 14 times for you to be able to get a free unit off the rip. That was what I remember quickly. So if you have the time and if you have the energy saved up, which is the in-game stamina system, you can farm all the characters in the game. It just takes a little bit of time, but it definitely requires you to get the battle pass. Now, the meat and potato of the game. How do you progress your account? What do the dailies look like? How long does the game take? Let me explain. So as you progress through the account, there are 2 main ways for you to be able to gain, you could say, items to progress your account. One is EXP, one is thread. EXP is pretty self-explanatory. As you clear through the dungeons, you'll be able to unlock higher difficulty. EXP is experience point. It helps you level your characters. Pretty self-explanatory, but there is a difference between skipping battle and entering battle. Entering battle means you have to do the battle manually, and what happens is you gain 1 times result. If you skip battle, you do not need to do the battle, but you do not get double the rewards on completion. Instead, you get 1.5. So realistically speaking, if you want the most value for energy with EXP specifically, you want to be doing EXP dungeons manually to get the most. However, you want to be able to push as far as you can with your account as much as possible, because if you're farming on the lower difficulty EXP dungeons, you're going to be getting less value per energy spent. The second thing is threads. Threads specifically allow you to be able to up-tie your units. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly skip the battle. With threads specifically, what you want to do is you want to be able to use it to skip dungeons, only because you don't want to be doing it manually every day. There is a daily bonus for threads. That means that each time you do it, you get twice the result. Because with doing it normally, you get 1 time results. If you do it manually, you get 2 times result. However, if you skip battle, it gives you 1.5 times the result. But because it's daily bonus, you get twice the amount. So when it comes to threads, you want to be skipping is what you want to do. Now, what are threads? What are EXP? Let me just quickly show you. So when you have a new unit, obviously you can level up the unit here with your EXP. Makes them stronger. Leveling up is important. You need EXP. But if you want to up-tie characters, you need to go over here, up-tie. And when you up-tie your units, you see it requires these threads. By up-tying units, you'll be able to get stronger skills. Your skills become stronger. So up-tying is important. So that's why you also need threads. So that's how you progress your characters, and that's how you level up your units. Now the question is, as a beginner, which units should you get? And which units should you be leveling up? As a beginner, you should realistically be only leveling up 1 or 2 characters. Now the question is, what characters do you level up? Let me explain. In the beginning of the game, you will have something called the new player pass. Hello, new manager. Day 7 and day 14 are going to be your 2 major threshold points. Now, with that being said though, which character do you want to have on day 7 and what ego do you want to have on day 14? That is going to be pretty simple. The character that you get through redeeming on day 7 is going to be Ting Tang Gang Leader Honglu. The reason why we say people want to redeem Ting Tang Gang Leader Honglu, because this is a very, very strong unit. It can help you progress through most of the game. And if you're going to level up any unit that's going to have some level of longevity in the game as a beginner, you want Ting Tang Honglu. He does everything. He does a lot. He's just a very good unit overall, and he can help you cheese and solo a lot of the content if needed. However, you can't go wrong with the other unit, which is going to be here. If you choose to redeem any other units, say for example you don't like Ting Tang Honglu, you have the one who grips Faust, and you also have Encore Mersault. I don't usually recommend Mersault only because his clash power is kind of low, but he's a tank, so tanks are tanks. But the other one that I can wholeheartedly recommend is the one who grips Sinclair. The one who grips Sinclair is very, very strong for a beginner, so you have a couple options. Sinclair is probably my second choice. Ting Tang Honglu is my first choice. Faust is my third choice. Mersault is my last choice for tier 3 identities. The reason why is because on day 7, you're going to get access to one of the most broken skills possible, because you get a guaranteed E.G.O through the battle pass on day 14. The most broken E.G.O skill that you can have in the game in season 1 is Fluid Sac. The reason why Fluid Sac is super broken, it's specifically for Faust, is because it's the one that has healing. It can heal sanity, which you don't really have to worry too much about. The game teaches you what sanity is, but the most important thing is it's going to be your main source of healing in the game. Using Faust is super important because she's the only character early on in the game that has access to the most busted skill possible, which allows you to heal your team. Healing 5 to 6 units for 15% of max HP is essentially a 60% heal. It's kind of nuts when you think about it. It's really, really good, very, very versatile, and everybody gains access to it, which is very nice. The only issue is when you're playing the game, you have to take into account these E.G.O resources. The game, in order for you to use the special skill, requires you to be able to pay for resources. So how do you gain resources in game? Allow me to quickly show you. So each Sinner has a color correlation to their skills. As you can see, Hong Lu here has purple skills, orange skills, and green skills. Every time he uses the skill, he gains that specific resource. So if I wanted to play Faust, if I want to be able to have her self-sufficient to fund her Fluid Sac, if I take a look at this unit can do blue, yellow, green, and Fluid Sac requires light blue, blue, and orange. Let me double check real quick. Dispense, Fluid Sac, search. It needs orange, light blue, and purple. Okay, orange, light blue, and purple. So if I wanted to have Faust on my team and use Fluid Sac, I would need to have one that's like, oh, look at that, blue, purple, and the orange. And if I uptie her, let's just quickly uptie her. Let's see if she gives me, nope, she gives me red on uptie 3, so that doesn't help me. But her first 2 skills help me get resources for Fluid Sac. But with that being said though, you can have other units on your team that generates the color needed. For example, he can generate the orange and the purple, and he'll fuel the E.G.O Sac. So that means when you're building a unit specifically, and your team specifically, you want to make sure that your team's E.G.O resources can fuel the E.G.O. Now let's go to the E.G.Os and the collaboration E.G.Os. So you can see here, this Ishmael, we don't know what its cost is going to be, but we know for sure it's going to be a Gloom E.G.O, and this is the one you're getting free. So when you're building your team, you want to be able to have units that can produce Gloom resources. If we go back here and then we take a look at Faust here, Faust is going to be a green one. We know for sure that means you want to be able to have units that can produce green, and so on and so forth for all the other units. However, what does that mean? Do I need to save up lunacy for these E.G.Os, and if I miss out, am I going to be screwed forever? The answer is no. You will be getting the Ishmael one for free, but maybe you want to go all in. You want to build an account and a team just specifically around these E.G.Os. I'm going to tell you really quickly which units will correlate best with the slotted units. So let's jump right into it. If you want to build Ishmael, because you get this E.G.O for free, the unit specifically that you want for Ishmael, you only have realistically a few options. Because this skill here, oh man, This skill here is sinking and tremor. There is realistically only just 2 units that you can use for sinking and tremor. The first one is Edgar. This is a 2-star identity. It has sinking here, so you could use this unit for sinking. It's a 2-star, so it's relatively cheap, so you don't have to worry too much about it. The other one that you want is going to be Molar. Molar also applies tremor and sinking, which is pretty decent. But if you wanted the best unit, and I mean the best unit in slot, specifically for Ishmael to be able to play with that eagle, the one that you would want is going to be Zwei Association. Zwei Association plays specifically with tremor, and this E.G.O here does apply tremor. So if you're wondering what the best unit is going to be for this E.G.O specifically, you probably want to go for Zwei Ishmael, only because Zwei Ishmael is a good unit solo, very strong. If you can get her and if you choose to farm for her, you can spark for her here. So if you want Zwei Ishmael, she is in the standard fish, so she is in the standard banner. She is right here, so if you want to get her, you could spark for her. So that's specifically if you really want to play Ishmael. Now what happens if you want to play all the other units in E.G.O? So that's Ishmael, that's the free one you're gonna get. But what happens if you want to build Faust? Faust is a Rupture Burn unit. She applies Rupture, she applies Burn. There are only really a few characters that you can typically use for her. There is one in particular that is by far one of the best units in the game. Mal Faust is going to be the one that you're going to be getting if you want to play her as a Rupture unit. You can also play her Burn style, which is Ardor Blossom, but Ardor Blossom is significantly weaker. It's weaker, but it's not like the worst. However, if you can get Mal Faust, you just play Mal Faust. There is one other consideration to be playing 7 Association, because it is a Rupture unit. It does have Gluttony, Gloom, and Envy, so you can technically fund itself. You can also fund Fluid Sac here too, because it has purple and light blue. So this is okay, but you don't want to pull for her specifically. But if you get her, it's good. However, if you have any better option, realistically, you are going to want to get the Heisho Faust. But if you get Ardor Blossom, that works too. However, definitely get Faust if you can, if you want to be playing this one specifically. Now, Gregor here, he is a tough one. So Gregor specifically is he's a Burn Tremor. Now, with Burn Tremor specifically, there isn't too much in Gregor's kit. The only one that is a good burn is Fire Fist Officer Gregor, which is a 3-star, or you can do South Section Liu, he's a burn. You can also do the Tremor, which is Rose Spanner Workshop Gregor, but these 2 units aren't great. This is the only burn one. The thing is that the game has specifically a capo unit. So we have the Thumb East Capo and also the Sinclair, which is also the Thumb East Soldato Sinclair. Gregor will most likely one day in the future have a unit release that's going to be of the Capo brand, and that specific unit ID specifically deals in Burn and Tremor together. So basically what that means is currently right now there isn't a unit that pairs exactly for Gregor. Most likely in the future there's going to be a unit release that will work well with him. So for now, Gregor does not have a unit that synergizes well with this E.G.O, unfortunately. Last but not least, Honglu. Honglu is an interesting one. Honglu specifically is just poise. Poise only. You don't need to know too much about poise. He's just a crit unit. He just crits. That's it. His whole thing is he wants to crit. There's a little bit of sinking involved, sinking and crit, but mainly it's a crit thing. So who crits with Honglu and who sinks with Honglu? Poise is full stop Honglu. This one is one focused specifically on critting. However, you can only get this on a limited time banner and it comes out very sporadically. So you can't get that right off the get-go. Lord of Hong Yuan is a unit that has poise built into his kit, but he's technically a Rupture unit. However, he pairs well with the other Heisho units, which is kind of the theme of this season. If you get the Hong Yuan Long Lu, it's okay if you plan to be building into the Heisho variants of your team, but he is meant to be Rupture. He's not quite poised. The other option is to go into the sinking aspect, and the only other unit that actually does sinking is the Daiichi Association Southeast A. This one does sinking, so if you wanted to build into a sinking archetype, you could use this unit. But remember, you want to take a look at their affinities, because this gives 3 Wrath, 2 Gloom, and Sloth. And we know this one is a dark blue, dark blue, this unit does not give you dark blue. So you want to be conscious that if you are going to be playing around this cool E.G.O that you want, you might not be able to fuel the resources available. Specifically with this one though, this unit has 3 light blues, a green, and a dark blue. So this unit, the Huang Yuan one, can fuel this a little bit, okay? So when you're figuring out whether or not you really want to go all in on these E.G.Os and you want to play them because they look really cool, you want to make sure you, number one, have a unit that synergizes well with its playstyle, but number two, a team that can fuel its resources. Now, progressing your account. That's going to be the biggest thing. Let me go over one by one specifically how you want to do your dailies. So as you can see, my account, I've already done the dailies. I've condensed my Enkaphilin. I've done my double lunacy. When you are doing your account, you want to make sure you're not wasting resources in the beginning. When you start a new account, you're probably going to be able to get a couple of units that you get through the gachables that you might want to invest in. Just invest in 1 or 2. Know that eventually those units might be replaced, so don't get too sentimental about them. Even now, if we take a look at, for example, my Ting Tang Honglu, you can see he's level 30, right? I only leveled up to level 30, and then I dropped it. And you can see most of these characters aren't even fully maxed out or leveled up for my account. Now, how do you progress with the account as efficiently as possible without wasting resources? So I'm going to quickly go over all the story modes that you're going to encounter roadblocks, I guess, and I'll tell you exactly which friend unit to borrow from my account specifically for you to be able to pass that. Now, the prologue, the Canto 1, Canto 2, Canto 3, you can borrow any unit you want, and you'll be able to progress through it without much resistance. Hell's Chicken is the only chapter here where you have to progress your account naturally because you cannot borrow a friend unit. That just means you're gonna have to bite the bullet, level up your account a bit, a few characters, get them up to par, and then you can pass this. This might take a day or 2 to get through. Once you get to the next part, the Unchanging is easy. You can borrow a friend unit, Interval 2, same thing, borrow a friend unit. The Evil Defining is where you're gonna enter your first roadblock. Evil Defining, specifically on 530, you're gonna encounter your first major road hurdle. To deal with this battle specifically, what you want to do is you want to go over and borrow a Zwei Ishmael. What you want to do is you want to borrow an Ishmael unit that's juiced out the wazoo, and you use her specifically to solo fight the battle. You don't want to bring any friend units. You literally bring Zwei Ishmael or another super strong Ishmael, like base Ishmael, or you can do Patriarch Ishmael. That could work, but it's a bit RNG related. And literally what the strategy is you just have her defend until you have 4 to 5, 6 skill slots, and then you just attack, and you kill and you win. If you try to do this normally, you're gonna be in a lot of pain. That's the only way to cheese it. Once you get through this, after chapter 530, you can also just borrow a friend unit at 536 and you'll be fine. Now, the next little roadblock you are going to encounter is when we get to Yield My Flesh, Claim Their Bones. So specifically with this dungeon, it's another one just like Hell's Chicken where you cannot borrow a unit. When you're entering into Yield My Flesh, Claim Their Bones, there is specifically a couple units that you can use to cheese this one the same way you cheese chapter 530. The 2 units that you can use to cheese the fight is obviously Ting Tang Gang Leader, and you can also use the one who grips Sinclair. Those are the 2 units that you can use to redeem for those characters at day 7 for your attendance pass. You can use it for Sinclair, you can use it for Ting Tang Honglu, both are fine, and you can use both of those units, one or the other, to be able to cheese that fight specifically. You might have to level up your units a bit, but it's another situation where you only carry 1, 2, or 3 units and use that to cheese it. But it's another situation where you cannot use friend units to borrow. Now, the next biggest hurdle is going to be heartbreaking. Specifically with heartbreaking, you can borrow units up until kind of near the end of the final dungeon. You can still borrow a unit, but it's very hard to cheese. Units specifically that you need to bring into the final dungeon for this canto, the heartbreak, is you need to bring Hobo Heathcliff. I'm not going to go too much into detail, but yes, if you go into the final dungeon, bring this unit. He will help you solo most of the stuff for you. He is very important. Outside of that one dungeon specifically, this unit is useless, kind of sucks, but he's super good specifically for that endgame dungeon. So use Hobo Heathcliff. Now, once you're done Hobo Heathcliff, you're done that little conundrum, you have also Intervallo. This one's going to be another one of those situations where you have to just level up your count because you can't just borrow a friend unit. Same thing, you just have to level up a couple units, get them to a level where you can kind of cheese the fight. At this point, you probably have a couple of characters that you can use, and you can determine whether or not you're going to bring 1 character, 2 character, or 3 characters. Let's just kind of slow that fight. Same thing with Intervallo 4 right here, Murder on the Warp. And then we go to Dream Ending. Dream Ending, specifically with this one, on the final dungeon, when you're pushing through this account, you specifically want to be able to borrow my Sank Association South Section 5 Director, Don Quixote. You will use her to solo the final dungeon. It will be the only way for you to really progress your account, because it's one of the ways where you can cheese the fight. It'll take some time, but you can use it to just solo the final dungeon if you care about that. And then once we get over all the way to Surrendered Witnessing, Surrendered Witnessing, this one's going to be a little bit harder. The reason why Surrendered Witnessing is going to be a little bit harder, and I mean by a little bit, I mean like very, very freaking hard, is by the time you get to Canto 8, you sort of need a fully equipped team. I'm talking about level 50, up to 3, couple like 6-7 units, only because once you get here, the game actually gets quite difficult, and it's almost impossible to cheese. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it gets to the point where it's almost impossible to solo carry with units, and that's where you're gonna have to be patient, grind, get more characters, and play the game normally. However though, on my free-to-play account, within about 8 days, I was able to push all the way to Heartbreaking. So chapter 6, and if you get through chapter 6, you'll be able to gain access to this right here. So you can get all the way to like the level 43 dungeon. If you can push through, you can also get through to the level 48 dungeon, but the level 8 dungeon is going to be really, really hard. As you can see, the level difficulty is level 48. So that's how you're going to be able to progress through your account at least as quickly and strictly as possible. Outside of that, those are going to be the main ways that you can get resources. So to quickly recap and summarize everything that I've kind of talked about. Number 1, use Lunacy to refresh your account twice daily. Condense those modules. What you want to do is you want to go into your Luxcavation, do a single Luxcavation EXP manually, and skip the highest difficulty thread dungeon that you can 3 times. After that, you're going to progress through the story as much as possible, as far as possible. When it comes to units and sinners, you just want to be able to level up a couple of units the best. If you want to be able to pull for E.G.Os, is it mandatory? The answer is no. Even though the E.G.Os in the collaboration aren't going to come back ever again, allegedly, you don't have to worry about it too much because the E.G.Os are more accessories. They're like equipment and artifacts. They don't make or break the game. They do help a little bit, but more importantly, you should be focused on figuring out what units you want to build, because that's going to be the more important part. At the beginning of the game, you probably want to figure out whether or not you want to pay for the battle pass, because paying for the battle pass is going to exponentially increase the speed of your account by a lot, because you'll be able to farm the end game of these boxes, which gives you shards, and with shards you'll be able to get units that you want. And if you take a look at my stuff, so that we can see roughly how much stuff I have in terms of consumables, I have 960 boxes. So if you times that by 2, because on average you get 1 to 3 ego shards of your choice, that means I can get about, I'm just gonna say ballpark, 2,000 shards. So with 2,000 shards, I can gain about 5 characters immediately of my choice without having to do anything. And then the threads here, you can use it to obviously up tie your sinners, so that way you can go over here. I can like switch over to, yeah, let's just say this unit. If I want to, I can up tie the unit here, or if I really wanted to, and if I really like this specific ego, I can also thread spin it to upgrade this to make it even stronger. You can upgrade your skills as well. But that has been a condensed, hopefully short enough guide to explain as much as I can for you. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, make sure you join the Discord community down in the description down below. We have a lot of friends that you can, or friend codes that you can borrow, but we're also very active. I think, like I said, the biggest Limbus company in the game, I want to say. But yeah, make sure if you have any questions, post it in the comment section down below. Do my best to get back to all the questions that you may or may not have. But if you want access to all the resources we have, just make sure you join the Discord. John Panel signing off. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye for now.